Hello and welcome to Wednesday Wisdom. It's absolutely a pleasure to be talking to you today on this Wednesday Wisdom live presentation. Now, I'm going to be talking to you about the essence of communication and the purpose of that. And it's really to build valued relationships. And really, relationships is absolutely key these days to growing your business, to developing your personal life, to getting promotion, to gaining contracts is absolutely critical. But the way that we do it has changed. In this hyper connected world that we live in, the way that we build relationships that we have has changed. And sometimes when I talk to people about social media, and their fear around social media and what they need to reveal. This is because it's not having an understanding in the way that relationships have really changed. And so hopefully I'm going to help you with that so that you can really capitalize on growing your business through building relationships. Last week I talked about that not selling, but actually it's all about relationship building, and selling is really about sharing your knowledge and insights, and that's part of relationship building as well. So the real key here to better relationships is really it's about sharing something of yourself, being real, being really true to who you are, so people can really understand what you're about. So, for the people that don't already know me, my name is Janice B. Gordon, aka the Problem Solver. I help to grow businesses, and that is one relationship at a time, one customer, one client at a time. And a lot of the strategies that I use, I share with you on these live training. In fact, one company that I worked with, I helped them to grow their business by 6 million in less than a year. And that's really by using many of the strategies that I taught you here. Now, what I do is I always post a blog on Mondays, and so it elaborates on much of the information I do in these live sessions. But I also, this is posted on YouTube, so make sure that you do connect with me and follow me either through my blog, The Problem Hyphen and Solver, or my YouTube channel, or here my Facebook page as well, Janice B. Gordon. So it's a real pleasure to be talking to you, but I really want to make sure that you get all of the tools and tips. So I try and break it down for you to make sure that you really understand, all of the shortcuts and all of the tools that you can use in your business. After all, if you do not get it, you're not going to use it. And so that's what I'm here to do today. So, I've talked about a hyper-connected world that we live in. And the reason why our relationships have changed is that now the internet has allowed us to access so many more people. But how that has changed our relationship, that it could be that we have relationships that are a mile wide, but only an inch deep. And so they may be more fleeting, and you may consider them to be more shallow, but it doesn't mean that they're of less value. They're just different. And so the way we communicate and what we need to communicate and the speed that it enables us to communicate, it changes the way we do things. So it's really about understanding fundamentally why we also need to change the way that we do things as well. Everyone, more or less everyone in the world, has access to the internet. So everyone is on this speed of change in the way that we develop and secure and build relationships. So just remember, relationships now are often a mile wide. We have many people that we can connect with, but possibly only an inch deep. But do not forget that they are equally of value. They can really bring benefit to you and your business. So never discount those relationships. It's just changed. So the way that we can really embrace these changes is really about understanding the way that we communicate and communicating effectively with these changes. So I'm going to help to explain some of that for you today so you can really help you to develop your relationships. So this really involves you being honest, honest about who you are, honest about your intent, and really following through with your intention. This is about you really having an objective to be curious about the other person. And this is about asking questions and really applying active listening skills. And so that you are able to really pick up on all of those clues. So you've really got to be curious about the other person. And so it's important for you to have a mutual exchange. You've got to share something about who you truly are, the real you. So it's quite fundamental, this. And in order for other people to get who you are, what you stand for. I've talked a lot about this in some of my online training programs about your core values and your core strengths. This is really understanding about who you truly are. And the reason why it's really important for you to share that with other people is because of this mile wide and an inch deep. They need to get and really embrace something about you quickly with speed. And they don't have the time because we don't live close to one another over the years and over several conversations to uncover that about you. Really, the attention span is so short these days that you need to give that information, give something fundamental, give someone a clue about what you stand for, who you are, your experience. And this isn't your CV, this is really, really who you are and what you stand for. So, that's why it's really important to share your stories, to actually share your struggles, to actually share the things, the way that you think, your perspective, your view of the world. This is the thing that says a lot about who you truly are. And that's why it's really, really important. So, very quickly, people can understand where you come from and they can make a decision about actually if they want to get on your page or if they don't. And if they don't, that's great too. Because the thing is, you really want people that are share your view of the world. So you can really have in-depth conversations, but the point is you get there really quickly because first of all you've got to share something of yourself, and that gives them a really good clue to see whether that you have some common ground there in which to grow. And this is the basis of really growing relationships. So Robert Stephen Kaplan, who was prior to being joining the Dallas Federal Reserve, he was an associate dean and professor of Harvard Business School, and a really great guy to follow and talks a lot of sense. So he's got lots of business, real business inside. So he talks about the three elements of relationship building that I want to share with you here. And this is mutual understanding, mutual respect, and mutual trust. And so there's some strategies that will help you to build those three things, but these are pretty fundamental in relationship building. Stephen Covey talks a lot about trust as well. They're another great guy to follow. And so, it's trust is so important in building relationships, even those fleeting relationships, because the speed of change is so fast. You've really got to get to it really quickly. And that's why sharing something of yourself is so important. So Robert Stephen Kaplan, he talks about self-disclosure as the first element. And what he means by this is really sharing something fundamental about yourself. So you must understand what that is. So it's understanding yourself first and then sharing that fundamental element about yourself so other people can embrace it, other people can understand it and know where you're coming from. It's really quite fundamental. So this isn't just the vanilla everyday. It's got to be something that makes you unique and different. What is your difference? What's your unique and different perspective or experience, whatever it may be? So it's got to be something that's valuable, to that other person that really gives them an insight about you. You know, if you're really, he calls it buttoned up, and us Brits are very much like that, the stiff upper lip. But you know, if you are really buttoned up and you find it quite difficult, and I do come across quite a lot of people in social media not really wanting to engage in social media because of this kind of buttoned up um, uh, uh, attitude, really, about being too personal and all of that. But if you are buttoned up, then it really does risk the relationship. And it's really important to understand here that this is just a shortcut for other people to it is. They're not going to take that information and it's not going to be traded or anything like that. It's just a shortcut. You have to reveal something of yourself. And it really is sometimes, if you start doing it and it's unusual, you might feel it leaves you a bit vulnerable. And that's the point, isn't it? People know that. They know that you've shared something that's really deep, you know, something that it makes it difficult for them to walk away from you because they understand that you've given a piece of yourself. And so it's the basis, a really good grounding for building a relationship. If you honor the other person by sharing something that's fundamental about yourself that not everyone in the world knows, then they understand you better, but also they're a bit more committed to you as well because they appreciate that you've shown your vulnerability. This is simply a shortcut. So don't get bent out of shape about it. That's all it is. It's a shortcut to actually building the relationship. And just remember, if you don't do it, you simply risk the relationship. What is the basis of trust here? I don't know that person. You know, I know nothing about that person. This is easy for them to say, and this is why it's important for you, for this self-disclosure. As Robert Stephen Kaplan said, it's really important for you to understand yourself first. I've done a lot of work on this, and I talk about putting your personality into your business. And I've got a whole program around personality and how you discover what your personality is and how you discover what to share and what you may not want to share, and really uncover. It's a bit like I talk about an onion and actually revealing the layers of your own onion. So I have lots of tools and strategies for you to use to actually find out something about yourself that may be a little bit uncovered. And once you start to reveal it and look at it, then it's okay. It's not so personal. You don't feel so vulnerable because you know that you've got several layers, and that's okay. So it's a really good process to go through. It makes you less vulnerable by knowing so much about yourself, really, and you know what you want to share and what you don't want to share, and that's okay. So the second thing that Robert Stephen Kaplan talks about is inquiry. Inquiry is about asking questions, and I've talked lots about active listening, asking questions and active listening. So important in relationship building. So you've shared something about yourself, and now you want to understand the other person. You've shared something, so they're beginning to understand you, but you need to understand the other person. So you need to ask questions. You need to inquire. You need to really share the space with someone else and be really curious about that other person, really. And it's, people often say when I'm mentoring and coaching, that they feel that sometimes not so much uncomfortable, but I'm really looking at them, because it's not only the words that you say, it's the language of your body, it's the way that the air moves around you as well, that gives us so much information. So I'm really looking for all of those clues. So active listening isn't just listening with your ears, it's listening with your eyes as well, because the body gives you so much information. The tones give you so much information as well. So active listening is listening with your whole body and really looking to understand more about where the other person's coming from. Maybe they might reveal something fundamental about themselves. Now you may think, well, in a business environment, I can't do that. Absolutely you can, because people are people, even in business to business. And so you build a relationship with the people within the company, but it's still with people. So it's important that you do this. Can you imagine? Um, you may share a space with someone. Who knows, that may be their last space or your last space? Who knows? But can you imagine you've just shared a moment with somebody and you walk away and you know nothing about them, absolutely nothing about them. And you think that's quite sad, really, to think that this moment will never, ever happen again. You've just shared that space, you've shared that moment, and you have no connection with that person at all. You know nothing about them. This is such a waste, and really, really sad that we let go of those real opportunities to really gain real connection with people. So don't do that. Make sure you're curious about everyone around you and ask questions and apply active listening. you know then the third area that Robert Stephen Kaplan talks about is about, do you ask advice? Now, this really came from when he was a professor. A lot of students were troubled and lonely, and he realised that they didn't really build valued relationships. Now, those relationships may be fleeting, but it's the way. These are the strategies that you do that, and that by asking advice is a wonderful strategy. When you ask someone's advice, you're respecting them. It's a real honour. If you think about it, when someone says, I really want your advice here, what they're saying is that they trust you, they value you, and they value your knowledge and your experience and your perspective. I mean, what better um, recommendation or honour can you apply to somebody for them to come up to you and want your advice? So when you go out and you ask someone's advice, then you're actually saying how much you value and honor and respect that person. And you don't go around asking advice and not doing anything about it. I mean, it's really having a core group of people, or people that you see that you think that can really add value into your life. But even people that you meet as well, asking their opinion, as because you're wanting to see their perspective. So it's a real honor. You're really showing that other person respect. So it's really important that you do ask other people their advice and really actively listen to their perspective as well, and absorb their perspective as well. So, these three things, self-disclosure, inquiring, and asking advice, are really important, and you must do them in that order. Reveal something about yourself, really actively ask questions and listen, and then ask their advice as well. If you do it in that order, you can really start to build valued, trusting relationships. It doesn't matter that they may be more shallow or fleeting. That doesn't matter, because you've taken all of the shortcuts to building that relationship. So it's really important you do that. It's important that you're interested in that other person, whoever that other person may be. It may be a colleague, it may be a customer, a client, a supplier, it may be your boss. Whoever that person may be, it's really important that you are interested in them, in their well-being, and how their perspective and how they think. But also you must be empathetic to them as well, not sympathetic but empathetic. Really, this is about seeing their perspective and valuing their perspective as well. This is your ability to understand and see another way, see another perspective as well, and really adding value to that. It may not be your perspective, you don't have to agree on everything. That's not the point. The point is to honor that other person by seeing their perspective. After the relationship has moved on and you've used these strategies, and you've had several interactions, whether it's with the buyer, the customer, the client, the supplier, whoever that may be, you may then want to ask them some really insightful questions, perhaps only one simple insightful question. And this gives you so much information when you're asked this one question. But you can ask it in different ways. So it might be, would you recommend me? And again, again, the people I work with find it quite difficult to ask that question. They feel it makes them feel vulnerable. And that's okay as well, because all it is, it's about the fear of getting the answer. But you actually want the answer. You want the answer for the insight it gives you. So you may ask it in different ways. Would you recommend me? Would you recommend my service? Would you recommend my company? Or you may ask, would you come again? Would you use us again? Um, Asking that one simple question, however you may ask it, only ask one, really then sit back and listen to the answer, because you really want an honest and frank answer. But there's only three ways of answering the question. It's either yes, of course, maybe, or no. And that's the fear. The fear is getting a maybe or no, because you don't know what to do next. Well, actually, what you want to do next is fire off another question, because if it's a maybe, you want to say something like, what do I have to do to turn your maybe into a yes? Smile. Because that, when you smile, your persona really makes it easier for them to answer honestly, because you really want the answer. There isn't a barrier there or at all. And it's not saying that your persona is joking. It's serious, but you smile, you make it comfortable, because you really want to know the answer. Because if it is a maybe, you want to get a yes next time round. And if it's a no, you might say something like, I value you and our relationship. What do I have to do to win your favor? What will, I'm willing to do it. Just tell me what I need to do. And again, smile. What do you need to do? And people are willing to give you information. But the important thing with this simple, honest question creates connection. People understand that you're wanting to build the relationship. It connects, you care. That's what you're saying. I care about you, the relationship. I want to do better. And people are more than willing to actually give you the information, but it's the way you ask it. So you might need to practice it, because you might feel a bit vulnerable, but you need to ask it confidently and pleasantly as well. And then you need to work on it. There's no point asking these questions if you're actually not going to absorb the information and actually work on it and feedback and do better. Otherwise, they won't answer the question next time round, and they'll certainly move on. In actual fact, you're going to they'll distrust the relationship, so you can go back or even lose that relationship. So it's really important you're serious about this, and that you do something about their responses, and you follow up on it, so that once you've asked this really simple connection, you're gaining connection with those questions. It's because you're following up on the information. So it's really important that you ask these questions. You want to build that connection. You've actually built the relationship, and now you need to grow it. So these questions are really, really important. Even if you're doing a great job, you want to know how you can do even better. But if you're not doing a great job, what the beauty of these questions is that the answers are specific to that customer or client's need. It takes the guesswork out of what you're doing. You now have clear instructions of what you need to do, and all you need to do is do it. You're going to continue to build the trust and build the relationship, because you're listening and you're acting on what they say. So you've got to be brave enough to ask the question in the first place. And so this is great strategies, not only for you to start and build a relationship, but to continue to develop that relationship as well. It's using the active listening, it's putting yourself out there, and having self-disclosure, so that they feel connected to you. It's being curious about that other person, and so that you or get connected to them and really understand their perspective. It's about asking their advice. You want to honor them and listen to them and let them know you are listening by honoring them. But you've got to go further and want to improve and develop the relationship with asking them, what can I do more? Would they recommend you? Would they recommend your company? Would they come again? And making sure that you act on their responses. So, I work with many companies and use a tool called the DISC profile. And this is a great tool. I'm going to talk about this with you next week, because the DISC profile not only helps you to understand yourself, but the important thing, helps you to understand your team, the people in your company, your suppliers, your clients as well. The important thing is, not everyone needs to see your perspective, but you need to see other people's perspective, but you also need to value other people's perspective and respect other people's perspective. And that's why these strategies that I've presented with you today allows you to do that by being curious, by asking them advice and asking them questions that might make you feel a little bit vulnerable, but you get specific answers that are going to help you to continue to build the relationship. So I hope you found that useful today. These are brilliant strategies. If you didn't catch it all, make sure that you plug into my blog that I post on Monday, which is the problem-solver.com. You'll also see this on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, but make sure you reserve Wednesday 1 o'clock next week. I'm going to be talking about the DISC profile, so this is going to take this up a notch to another level, so that you can really understand not only yourself but the people around you. So it helps you to grow your business, to understand your relationships, to build your relationships, to see other people's perspective, and to grow your business. So you do not have to see, you do not have to have other similar people. They do not have to be the same. They don't even need to have your perspective. The important thing here is that you have mutual respect, mutual trust, and mutual understanding. And this is the way that you can actually do it. So make sure you practice this. I want you going out there asking your colleagues, your customers, their advice. Practice it, and it'll become a lot easier. So see you next week, Wednesday Wisdom. Make sure you share this with other people and post your comments. I always go in and check for comments. So I love to hear from you. Let me know where you're listening from. And if you've got any questions, please post them in the comments. I love to hear from you. Take care. Have a lovely day. Bye.